I'm Terry Kevlar, and I don't know what to think about J.J. Abrams becoming the director of Star Wars Episode 9. Hey guys, Randy Andy here, and today I just kind of wanted to give you my brief thoughts on J.J. Abrams replacing Colin Trevorrow as the director for Star Wars Episode 9. Now, I haven't even seen Episode 8, obviously I haven't, and I actually haven't seen any Rian Johnson movies. I started Looper, I really liked what I saw, but I never got to finish it just because I didn't have time to finish it, but I really liked what I saw of Looper, and he directed Looper. And I gotta say, just from the vision I'm seeing from Rian Johnson's stuff, it's impressing me more than what J.J. Abrams was saying for Episode 7. Because J.J. Abrams was like, we want to pay homage to Episode 4, to the originals, but we don't want to copy them. And in the end, that meant he ended up having way too many parallels. Now, there were things in Episode 4 and Episode 7 that differed. Like Episode 7, I found the characters to actually be a lot more interesting. For example, Kylo Ren is a lot more of a broken character than Darth Vader, in my opinion, in the sense of when Darth Vader is on screen, he knows his purpose, he's gone through all the broken stuff already, and he's chosen, I am Darth Vader, I am the Sith. Whereas Kylo Ren, he's like, I don't know, I'm struggling with this still, I don't know what I'm meant to do. Whereas with Darth Vader, up until Episode 6, he was pretty at peace with where he was, it seemed like. Kylo Ren is still learning, he's still pretty much Padawan, maybe coming to Knight level in Episode 8, whereas Vader was a bona fide master of the dark side. So I found Kylo Ren a lot more interesting, and I know Kylo Ren is more whiny, but I found him a lot more interesting. And I found his character just more unstable and interesting to watch on screen. And Finn, I found it interesting that they decided to have a stormtrooper not just be a stormtrooper, actually become one of the main people of the film. That was a new idea that no one's ever seen before in Star Wars, and I think it's good to actually acknowledge that. I think it's good to acknowledge what was new in The Force Awakens. But when Episode 9 came down to Rian Johnson or J.J. Abrams after Colin Trevorrow and Kathleen Kennedy were just not getting along, I have to say, even though I haven't seen a full Rian Johnson movie, and even though I'm only going off trailers and one behind-the-scenes video and a couple tweets from Rian Johnson, I have to say, I think I'd be more comfortable with Rian Johnson. He just seems like he's more of a visionary when it comes to directing things, you know what I mean? J.J. Abrams, I like his exciting style and stuff like that, and that's why I liked his Star Trek reboot. Also because the stories didn't really seem to, copy anything at all. But at the same time, Rian Johnson just seems like he has more original ideas than Abrams. Now, again, this could just be due to Kathleen Kennedy having a certain vision, and Rian Johnson said he had pretty much complete freedom to write what he wanted to write, but when we look at Colin Trevorrow and Kathleen Kennedy, it was stated that they just weren't accepting each other's vision for Episode 9. They just weren't agreeing on anything. What Colin Trevorrow wanted just wasn't working for Kathleen Kennedy. And that could be because Colin Trevorrow directed one of the worst movies. It was either this year or last year, I don't know. Colin Trevorrow did direct one of the worst movies of either this year or last year, and he directed Jurassic World, which was just very forgettable movie. So at the end of the day, I'm okay that Colin Trevorrow's gone, and I'd rather have Abrams over Colin Trevorrow just from what I've seen from both of them so far. So J.J. Abrams isn't the worst thing for me, but it also seems a little bit safe. It seems like the thing that you do when you want to make sure that your franchise doesn't burn to the ground. And that's kind of my problem, is I like Abrams. I do have a problem with him being in Episode 9 or directing Episode 9, but I do have a problem with it a little bit because I want breaking new grounds from Episode 9 and Episode 8, which I think Rian Johnson is going to deliver. Despite people calling it an Empire Strikes Back 2, I think he's going to deliver new grounds. With J.J. Abrams, for some reason it just feels like he might make it too safe of a bet. I don't think he'll do a second Starkiller base. If he does, he's lost my faith as a director because, sure, Episode 7, I get it was a bit daunting and he had to sort of be a little bit safe and to not, destroy the Star Wars franchise or feel safe within himself that he wasn't going to get, people just flame warring him, which they have anyway. So I guess maybe he should have been a little more away from the whole Starkiller base crap. For episode 9, I don't think he's going to do a second Starkiller base. Again, as I said, if he does, he's a bit loopy in the head, because come on, how? No, there's no way he's doing another Starkiller base. And I don't think he'll do a Jabba the Hutt clone. I just don't think that's gonna happen. Well, obviously there'll be a final showdown with Snoke. That's kind of inevitable. I mean, and that's not copying episode 6. That's copying a usual trilogy format of fighting the main villain at the end. For example, Voldemort. Fighting Voldemort was inevitable. It was going to happen. Were they just going to make sunshine and rainbows with Voldemort? No. You know, they had to show that guy with no nose who's boss, and that's what's going to happen with Snoke. It's just going to happen. I hear a lot of people calling J.J. Abrams Jar Jar Abrams, and I just don't think that's fair at all, because yes, there were some things in episode 7 that paralleled a little bit too much, but I have faith in him. His dialogue, the way he writes dialogue really isn't bad. It's pretty good. I like his dialogue. The way he has the cinematographer work on the camera is really good. For example, in chase scenes, a lot of directors have lots of cuts between a chase scene where it's like straight running. Whereas the one thing I've noticed with J.J. Abrams is when most directors will cut, he'll be like, no, keep rolling. And that was one of the things I liked about Star Trek was, you know, the chase scenes were actually very visceral, because if someone was running, you know, you wouldn't take the camera off them very often. It was the same thing with Force Awakens. When Finn was running away from Rey, you could see it the whole time. You could see him running the whole time, and there were no cuts, and then Rey just comes boom. And I like that kind of directing style. I like that kind of cinematography. He's really good at making the cinematographer work the best the cinematographer can, in my opinion. So I don't think calling him Jar Jar Abrams is a terribly good idea, because he really doesn't deserve that title. He did good things in episode 7 that a lot of people don't recognize. They recognize the little bits of bad that he did over the really good bits of good he did, such as establishing new characters that were very interesting, you know, and all of that kind of stuff. And also just introducing new plot points that we've never seen before, like Luke Skywalker being missing. Like, you must have seen episode 7 if you're watching this video, like Han Solo dying. I guess you could parallel that to Obi-Wan dying, but it's a completely different situation, in my opinion. And let's be honest, if Rian Johnson's vision for episode 8 is as unique as I have faith in him for it to be, then I think episode 9 just can't be an episode 6 remake at all. It can't, because it wouldn't make sense of how the story would flow into that. I just don't think it can. Now, yes, there might be some similarities, like the main villain being killed, but oh, boo-hoo, the main villain got killed. That happens in so many sagas, and it's, you know, it's just stupid to say that would be a copy of episode 6 at that point. Now, maybe if they took him up like that and threw him into a vent on like a space station, then yes, that would copy. I would agree at that point, that would copy. And just a quick thing on episode 8, sure, there's walkers, but there are walkers in episode 2. And when it comes to this casino planet that we've seen, to me that actually reminds me a little bit more of Coruscant than Cloud City, because Cloud City, I never got casino vibes. Like, sure, Lando was a gambler in his past, but when we were around Cloud City, it seemed very orderly. I didn't see much casino-ish stuff going on. It didn't seem like a very casino-ish sort of place. To me, the place that we get in episode 8, from what we've seen, this casino world, it looks almost like a mix between Cloud City and Coruscant, in the sense that we have the casino aspect and the gambling aspect, which is Coruscant, and we have the really cool looking city aspect, which is Cloud City. But again, come on, like, to me that's not a copy, because if we didn't get to see a new cool city in one of these new Star Wars movies, I'd have been like, come on, up your creativity game, guys. If we're just going to get desert planets all day long, then I would have been disappointed. So seeing a new city planet is great. And just from what I've seen in the behind the scenes footage, like, the new vehicles that are going to be on that city look good. The new guards on that city look good. So I think, again, it's going to be unique, especially since it looked like they were hinting towards a pod racing sort of thing, you know, or a speeder race sort of thing. And again, to me, that is unique. Now, sure, it was in episode 1, but a pod race is just going to, like, fall from the face of the galaxy when it comes to Star Wars. Like, are they just going to stop doing it for no reason when it's a perfectly fun sport to watch? I don't think so. I think it would stay alive because it's fun to watch. I think you know, the hypothetical people in Star Wars would still enjoy watching it by the time episode 8 rolls around. And as long as it's different enough, and as long as the speeders have changed, which it looks like they have, then I am fine with that. But when it comes to J.J. Abrams, sure, it's a bit of a safe choice, but I think with where Rian Johnson is taking episode 8, he will have no choice but to be unique with episode 9, and his writing is solid when it comes to dialogue. The way he has the camera move with the cinematographer is wonderful. The way he just creates synergy with everyone, I think, is great. So I have a little bit of things in the back of my head saying, ooh, I hope he doesn't mess this up. But at the same time, I have faith in J.J. Abrams, especially where Rian Johnson is taking it. But I do think Rian Johnson would have been my preferred pick for episode 9. And I am just wondering if Kathleen Kennedy is getting a bit loopy in the head, getting a bit too overwhelmed by the fact that she's managing a $1 billion company. Now, that's one thing I do want to touch on before I end off, is it's not Disney, at least in my opinion, it's not Disney that's having this whole Star Wars crap happening. It's Kathleen Kennedy. Disney just bought the assets and was like, Kathleen, you do your thing. What Disney manages is opening the new rides and all the figurines and all the toys and shit, so they can make as much money as they need to make. But when it comes to the movies, even Kathleen Kennedy herself said that Disney gives them complete freedom to do whatever the hell they want to do. Unless they maybe try to make another Christmas special too, then I think they'd probably step in and be like, what you doing here? But I mean, when it comes to Kathleen Kennedy, I think she's good at what she's doing. I just think she's a bit too nervous. I think she needs to stop just being so controlling and just let creative vision take hold. But I think Rian Johnson is kind of forcing that out of her. I think Rian Johnson is like, you know what, I'll have walkers, but this movie is going to be something completely new and special. And hell if it isn't, I probably wouldn't even watch episode 9.
Well said, Andy. Well said. But I gotta say, J.J. Abrams, I'm not so sure, but at the same time, I'm excited. And I think they could have done a lot worse. He doesn't make me want to say, barf me out, dude. He makes you want to say, this could be gnarly, you know? So I think episode 9 is in pretty good hands, and I just hope that I'm right about that. But listen up, if you did enjoy this video, please do like, subscribe, and share, because Andy works hard on this crap, and I make him work hard on it. So as Andy says, this has been the Randy Andy Show, and we will see you in the next one.